A very good evening to you and welcome to RTV News with me, Fiona Mbabazi. Health practitioners are happy that they are now allowed to have dual practice, and the general public, on the other hand, is, however, calling for regulations that will ensure that they get the doctors they want if such practice is allowed. Serge Nori kicks off tonight's edition with that story.
The doctors we spoke to said dual practice is manageable as long as a person's time is properly utilized, and pointed out that it is necessary because of a shortage of specialists in the health sector. And on the 12th of this month, the cabinet meeting that convened on that day agreed that health practitioners willing to engage in dual practice should be allowed to. Concerns have been raised, however, that the practice could cause some problems. The doctors may be happy about working in many places at the same time because it means more money for them, especially when they go to private hospitals and clinics. They should be allocated a limited number of hours in private hospitals so that they do not all flood there. The chairman of the Rwanda Private Medical Facilities Association, however, points out that dual practice will help improve service delivery. A doctor who keeps running around from place to place cannot provide good services for his patients. He or she must be stable so that even their patients know where to find them. Therefore, doctors will not start skipping from hospital to hospital just so that they can get more money. If anything, they will be required to operate in a clear and organized fashion, as per the instructions provided by the concerned ministry. Indeed, the Ministry of Health is preparing rules to be followed by those who do decide to adopt dual practice. Health practitioners say the practice will help more patients get to specialists and experienced medics that would otherwise have been tied to just one hospital.
The Ministry of Justice has announced that it has implemented 95% of the 50 resolutions passed by the UN Human Rights Council. Now, this was stated in a press conference held by the ministry this Monday.
Nearly 5 years ago, the United Nations Human Rights Council set out to the Ministry of Justice what needed to be changed in order to respect human rights. These included revising some of the laws such as the Penal Code, respecting the rights of prisoners and detainees by reducing overcrowding, building clinics, and distributing electricity to the community, and more. The head of the International Justice and Judicial Cooperation at the Ministry of Justice, Providence Umurungi, says all 50 resolutions have been implemented, as there's been a significant change in many things, even though it has not been at 100% rate. In terms of enacting human rights law, it's been achieved as required, but in terms of economic and social development, there is still a 5% gap. We are at 95% so far, but it's not to say that we haven't attempted to resolve the remaining 5%. It's because of the nature of these resolutions in terms of economic and social development of Rwandans. It's something we all wish to do, but we have worked on all the 50 resolutions we were given. There were some we were required to implement laws. We did this. For instance, empowering women and girls, the revised family law, succession laws. We have new laws for all these. The move is aimed at promoting human rights for Rwandans rather than for the benefit of the international community, according to Providence Umurungi. What we've done is to develop Rwandans and their rights, and not trying to please the United Nations, because it's Rwandans that benefit. Their rights being respected, having laws to run to whenever they have issues. It is what pleases us before we report this to the United Nations. There are also other bodies that were revised, as the UN Human Rights Council had suggested, and others were put in place, for example, in the Rwanda Investigation Bureau and the Court of Appeal. Rwanda has been reviewed twice by the United Nations, with the first time being in 2011 and later in 2015, and is yet to be reviewed for the third time. The report was approved by the Cabinet on 12th of October 2020 as part of the 50 resolutions that were given to Rwanda in 2015. This report will be released this week, and Rwanda will explain this report in January 2021 in Geneva, Switzerland.
The Zambian Inspector General of Police, Kakoma Kanganja, is visiting Rwanda for a week to improve cooperation between Rwanda National Police and Zambia's police, and also to visit various Rwandan police projects as well. Martina Abera with more.
When the Zambian Inspector General of Police, Kakoma Kanganja, was received by the Inspector General of the Rwanda National Police, Dan Munyuza, at the National Police Headquarters, he was shown various national police projects through videos, including some showing those responsible for maintaining public safety, social security, and police training. Zambian Inspector General of Police, Kakoma Kanganja, praises the cooperation between the Rwandan and Zambian National Police Department.
The two delegations appreciated the already established areas of cooperation, and we reaffirmed our commitment to uphold the existing warm relationship of our countries, and that it will also open up new opportunities to learn from each other, especially noting that Rwanda has incredibly advanced in technology and innovation in all areas of doing business.
The Rwanda National Police has a partnership agreement signed with the Zambian Police that was put in place in 2015. The Zambian Inspector General of Police and the Inspector General of the Rwanda National Police will have the opportunity to discuss improving the agreement. Rwanda National Police spokesperson CP John Bosco Kabera speaks on the content of the agreement. The agreement dealt with the exchange of information on criminals as the security forces, whether individuals or groups, border crimes related to terrorism, crimes related to human trafficking, and crimes related to drug use. Such visits are important for people to share their experiences and share information in order to protect the citizens and their property. The Zambian Inspector General of Police will also visit different key locations, including the Kigali Genocide Memorial at Gisozi, the Rwanda National Police Academy in Musanze, the Isanje One-Stop Center, and the Rwanda Investigation Bureau. Martina Abera, RTV News.
Local residents in different parts of the country have continued to commend the fact that Ubudehe categories will no longer determine whether or not a student gets a government loan, but have asked that the placement of the people in the new categories be done properly so that the services that will continue to be determined by the categories do not end up out of the reach of those that need them the most.
Development programs like Jirinha and VUP will still see the influence of Ubudehe categories when it is being decided who is to receive the most assistance, or none at all, which is why calls have been heard urging that the placement of people in the categories be done better than it was in the past. The first placements were truly disorganized, with local residents recommending a certain category for a person because they know very well where you belong, only for those at the cell level to reverse it and place you in a category you have no business being in. A day laborer was ending up in the third category meant for those that are well off, when it was not the case for that certain individual, resulting in them being deprived of certain services. Officials at the local administrative entities development agency have given assurances that this time around everything has been straightened out and people should not lie about their means, while top officials in the Ministry of Local Government have reiterated their commitment to helping people develop at a faster pace. In 1 to 2 years at most, a person should be able to move up from the category of poor people, and we want all Rwandans to undertake this journey with us and to see this goal of self-reliance as one for their individual families, not just that of the country as a whole. They should be able to make a living, pay for health insurance, and be able to save some of their money. Family members should encourage each other to do this. Extended families, neighborhoods, entire settlements, cells and sectors, so that we can all adopt that spirit of self-reliance that can then be the foundation of long-term security for our country. The Ministry of Local Government has confirmed that more than 100 billion Rwandan francs is spent annually on helping the country's most vulnerable to come out of poverty. That amount is to increase in the next 2 years so that by 2024, no one will be left in extreme poverty. The new 5 Ubudehe categories depicted by letters will come into force in February next year.
Now, come we stay marriages, as known by many, have been condemned by some of the residents living in Gatsibo district, saying that legal marriages help in families' daily development. Now, these testimonies were given at the Gender Equality Campaign launch in Gatsibo district.
20 couples that live in Kabarore sector have got legally married at the start of this gender equality campaign and say that they had been living together, not legally wed, for many years. Some say it is because they had been living as refugees abroad when they first met. It's been 67 years since I started living with my wife unlawfully. We were in refuge, having no close relatives nearby. We were outside our country with little self-worth. We were living well together, but having a problem. There are services we would request but couldn't access because we were not legally wed. I am happy that today we got legally married. That is because the government thinks about us. It is expected that 300 families in Gatsibo district will get legally married by the end of this month of October through this campaign organized in partnership with the Gender Monitoring Office and the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion, MIGEPROF. The Minister of State in charge of Constitutional and Legal Affairs, Ambassador Solna Nyirahabimana, has noted that couples that are not legally married but living as man and wife affect their society as well as the country. When it comes to planning and determining the status of local residents, these people were being classified in the wrong place. Another thing is they do not build trust between them because anyone who isn't legally married can leave at any time and get married to another one. And that is where you find that they do not work hard for their homes, which brings disputes and poverty in the family. Other activities to be done as part of this campaign include having discussions with girls that got pregnant at a young age and registering children in civil status registers. The Gender Equality Campaign is an annual event and a district is chosen for its implementation. In the last 5 years, about 8,000 couples have gotten legally wed through the campaign.
Now, 2 schools in Rubavu district have reopened, which has elated students and parents alike, and they say that they will even be able to pay their fees in installments.
Le Petit Poussin has reopened its doors for kindergarten and primary school this Monday. All the students who reported have masks on and are 20 per class with respected social distancing. I am happy to be back. I was staying at home. It was almost 8 months. I'll wash my hands and respect the measures put in place. At ELK University Gisenyi branch, we found 300 third-year students sitting for an examination as they resumed classes last week. The students say that they are divided in smaller groups in accordance to COVID-19 preventive measures. We're not scared. We know that COVID is real, so we do everything to protect ourselves. Before we enter here, our temperature is tested. We wash our hands and sanitize ourselves. Parents say this was a good move and that schools have agreed to allow them to pay their fees in installments. We had a problem of school fees because most of our businesses were at a standstill too. We're happy that they have agreed to let us pay in installments. The students first wash their hands, check their fever, use sanitizers, and when one is not well, there is a room that quarantines them.
On behalf of the entire news team that made this news possible, led by my news director, Janvier Murenzi, and cameraman Byron Diambaje, thank you very much for joining us. Have yourselves a lovely evening and a very blessed and fruitful week ahead. And do remember to respect all the measures put up to protect us against the COVID-19, and together we will keep flattening the curve.